Hi everyone, and welcome to this episode of The Author's Journey. I'm your host, Mony. Now, many of you watching this know that I'm already an author and publisher myself, having written the memoir of my walk to Jerusalem. And you know also that I did not do that walk alone. I also did not write that book alone. That book was a collaboration with someone who I didn't know at the time was himself a very talented author, a very talented storyteller, graphic novelist, and illustrator, who happens also to be today my husband. I'm so delighted to have with me to have this conversation on his author's journey, Alberto Agraso. Thanks for coming on the show, Alberto.
My pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Well, Alberto, tell me a little bit about yourself. Tell me about your story as a writer and as an illustrator yourself.
Well, I could tell you briefly that what had made me to be an author or an illustrator and a speaker is precisely the things about what I talk and what I express myself. You know, that is a search for meaning in life and a search for understanding who we are, why we are here, a spiritual or personal search. Yes.
Yeah. Were you always, when you were young, were you always reading? Were you always writing as a kid?
Yes. As a matter of fact, my mother was a very religious person, and she was educated at that time.
Because you grew up in Spain. You didn't grow up here in Canada.
You
grew up in Spain.
Yes. In the south of Spain. My mother, one thing, she loved to read. Then she, to me and my brother, she gave us books and comics, stories of saints, because she was very religious. And she put us to read to her in the kitchen while she was working. But her intention was not only to entertain herself, was that we learn to express ourselves better, and we learn the stories of these people that for her they were great people.
Yeah, well, I can imagine that that kind of upbringing obviously has influenced how you see the world. It's influenced the kinds of writing that you like to do. So tell me how her upbringing and how she raised you influenced how you see the world.
Well, was not only that, obviously. There was so many things in our childhood, but that influenced us in the try to be good people, to try to be honest people. I wanted to be a priest at that age. And after, I wanted to be a firefighter.
A firefighter?
And an astronaut.
Oh.
Today I see that it's very funny, because for one part was the look for honesty and to be a good person. The firefighter was to overcome your fears, no, and to help other people. And the astronaut was the fears of exploring.
Yes.
Then all these things that I wanted to be when I was a child still are, the essence of them are still in myself. Yeah. Because today I consider myself to not like a priest, a religious priest, but a person that tried to bring a message and tried to bring good to the world, no?
Yeah.
To the people.
Well, you know, I mentioned that, you know, the first book, Walking for Peace, was a collaboration between you and I, even though I'm the main writer, if you will. And it was two people trying to agree on one storyline.
No,
really?
Yes, it was that way. Yeah.
So tell me, Alberto, what was it like for you having to work with another person to try to agree on what the story will be? Because a lot of people will, at some point in their career, I think as writers, perhaps have to collaborate with others. And how do you make that work without, you know, losing yourself or losing, you know, your relationships?
Well, you know, for me now, today, at that time, was difficult, and you know was difficult for you, was difficult for me. But today I see it like a gift. I think all happened for a purpose, or for a reason, and all is looking for us to enrich our lives and to expand our consciousness or mind. Yeah. Then it was difficult, but at the same time helped us to understand better each other, to see the story from different angles, to understand why for you were more important than some things that for me. And that make us to consider the value of the opinion of the another, and at the same time to try to honor our own opinion and our own view. Then what came from that was, for me, I think, was a greater story than the one that we would have to write each one separately. Yeah. Today I see that very clear. Of course, it was difficult because you need to do some compromise and to leave some things that maybe you will want or not, but there is no doubt that was a great gift.
Yeah, I think it's looking on it looking back on it now, the story, the collaborated story, is not perhaps the story I would have written alone, and perhaps not the story that you would have written alone. But together, it created something that was entirely different, unique. It was unique. It had just aspects to it that would not have come out had I just been the one to actually do it myself. So, what big tip would you give to someone who is working with another person right now, collaborating on a story?
Well, exactly that. Try to open your mind, honor yourself, honor your truth, but open your mind to know better. That there are maybe angles that you have not considered. Yeah. Try to understand why another person looked things in that way, and try to write something that honors both of you, and especially the truth, the mystery that there is there in that history, because there is always something great there. It's not about how good is going to look my novel or my book. It's what is going to be the final product. That is a gift not only for you, it's a gift for everybody that is going to read it. Yeah. Then try to honor both of the truths and try to grow together in the process.
That's a great way of saying it. That's very good. Thank you. Now, you went from that specifically to children's books, to writing and to illustrating children's books. And I know this is a dream of many people that I have met who want to be able to write a children's book. So tell me why you decided to start down that path of children's stories.
Well, first we had a daughter, now today is 14 years old, Silvana. Yes. That is a great girl. But I know that I had that desire before even she was conceiving our minds.
Yes.
And it's because I see that children are pure, are innocent, are still full of wonder. And it's easier for them to accept this truth, or to accept the image of a beautiful world, a world that what purpose is love, and there is sense in life. That is really the message that we try to bring with our books. Yeah. They are open still. They had not been traumatized or had interpreted experience in a wrong way, and still they are open to these views. Then are like seeds that with time will grow and will help them to be happier and to live life, more fulfilled life, and enjoy more this adventure that is life.
So what do you say comes to you first? Does the character come to you first, or does the story or the message or the idea come first? Because you do both. Because a lot of authors are the ones that just worry about the story, but you are the illustrating and the writing at the same time. So which comes to you first?
Usually, when I think logically, and I'm thinking a story, the first thing is the story. The message or what I try to say, and after come the characters, at least that the characters are basing on personal experiences. Then you had there the characters already. But when I use my intuition, because you know that I love to bring things we don't know what is going to come in drawing, illustrating, or even writing, then I am open to whatever it comes. I need to be open. I need to put my mind aside and to have a white piece of paper and to see what it comes and it's the way that you can know the unknown, you know, when you are not logically preparing or organizing everything. Yeah. Then I do both ways, depending on what I want to bring.
Well, with the children's book, when I look at your illustrations, even on the cover, there is a softness to them. There's a kindness to them, and it's a style of illustrating that is, I think, quite unique. Has this always been the way that you have drawn? Because ever since I've known you, you know, you're illustrating, you're sketching, you're drawing. So
I always had a tendency to beauty and to express sensitivity. Okay. I see my old drawings before I had what I call my awakening, that I had a point in my life where I changed totally my point of view of things. And I still had that beauty, that sensibility, but it was filtered with sadness and with frustration, because at that time there was many things that I didn't like in the world, that I didn't understand at that time, that made me feel sad, made me feel sometimes injustice. And I painted, I drawing, and I write stories of warriors trying to find or to escape of a labyrinth.
Right.
I remember that I liked the mystery books when I was a child. That is curious, it's another thing, because today I explore the mystery.
Yeah.
You know, I read the famous five at the time, and the
famous five. Maybe that was something
five,
in,
and the Secret
Spain.
Seven. Enid Blyton, I think, is the writer, a British writer. And now I understand that there was a meaning in that. For that, I think that is a purpose. All life is like a connected dots. No?
Yes.
Then at that time, before I knew all this, before I discovered all this meaning of life and sense of life, I was more carried for my emotions. And then you could see more negative emotions, sad emotions, or anger emotions. And you could see that in my drawing. After I had experience in my life that changed my point of view and opened my eyes to another way to understand life and myself, as a way to understand life from love. We are here because we are loved, and because there is a purpose of love in our life, or change. Then all of that I wanted to bring was what I was feeling: joy, happiness, this perspective of the world that was beautiful and meaningful. And you can see the change from that point, that was in 1997, to the next days or to the next month. That was a big change.
Because it's true. Because you have two children's books. You wrote the I Am Happy books, which are available, which is 3 languages in one book. The I Am Happy, Je suis heureuse, and Soy feliz. So it's English, French, and Spanish. Yes. And the other children's book, which is very recent, the My Family and I. Yes. And what is it? They're similar in the sense that they follow the same little girl. Her name is Angela. But what is it that you want?
See the world with the eyes of love.
Exactly.
That is what we're talking.
Yeah, and she's explaining the concepts of family, for example, what it means to her. But these are read-along books. So these are books that are being read to the children by their parents. What is it that you want parents to receive? What message do you want them to pick up when they are reading these books to their children?
Exactly the same. I want that is like a reminder to them of how they felt once when they were little. Because I think we have not lost that little child that we were once, that was curious and playful and full of joy and wonder. We have not lost. It's still in us. Then what happened is that we had many experiences that we had interpreted bad, or we had learned because others with their good intentions, or no, but usually with their good intentions that teach us to protect us, that had make a world very dark. Little by little, and I think it's what causes depression today, and it's very common. Is because we have lost the purity of our vision, that vision that really felt, with our logic, with our thinking, felt that this world is something great, it's wonderful, it's magnificent, and we have lost this with time, with our experience. Then I think parents can reconnect with that vision when they read to their children, when they play with the children, when they try to be to their level. They feel the joy that once they felt, and they feel the magic that that was there and is still here, is we connect with it. And I try that this magic, we can connect with it again, because this magic is waiting for us. It's everywhere, it's around us, only we had lost the vision to see it. That is, I would like to help to raise the vision, to raise the understanding of what is around us and who we are.
I love that. Well, thank you for that. Thanks for sharing that vision. And we're going to continue. There's more. I know that you have more to say, and we're going to continue speaking. We're going to continue speaking. But for now, I do have to take a very quick break. Please stay tuned, everyone, as we come back to continue our conversation with Alberto Agraso.
Introducing the new Slice on Demand. It's a whole new world of entertainment.
I'm so not ready.
Hold on, back it up.
Whichever way you slice it.
These people would find drama in a monastery.
Get more of what you want when you want it, with even more of your favorite shows. And catch up on all the latest episodes or binge full seasons.
Hello?
Get your slice of big personalities.
Behave yourself.
Watch Slice on Demand on Rogers Channel 100. Watch whatever, whenever.
You people are crazy.
Hi, I'm Julie Dustin, and I'm a volunteer here at Rogers TV. I love working at Rogers TV because I'm learning the elements of television production and working with professional production crews. I've had fun on every single volunteer shift I've done because I've been challenged and I've learned something, and I've also enjoyed whatever the content of the show is that I'm working on.
Welcome back to the Author's Journey, everyone, where I'm continuing my conversation with local author, artist, graphic novelist Alberto Agraso. And in addition to the children's books that he's written, he's also written a book for people who wish to meditate. It's a book of meditation, it's a book of reflection, all based on some of the original paintings that you have done. And this book is called The Call. Now, do you want to tell me why you decided to write this book?
Well, that book is a long poem. It's a poem.
It's a long poem.
Exactly. That with the images try to explain what is the call that we all feel in some moment in our life, or from forever. And I think we feel always a call for looking for a dream, following a dream, or following something meaningful. Sometimes it's to fulfill an emptiness or a sadness that we don't know why we feel. But I think really that this is a call that our real self, in some way to say, our soul, or the reason for what we are here, wherever we are, that is another question, is bringing us, is trying to call us home, to try to understand what is what we are living and why we are here. And then this call through the paintings and through the writing is trying to illustrate that. And I think I did very beautifully, thanks to your translation too, and I'm very proud of that book.
That book was first written in Spanish, because you know Spanish is your first language, and I just did the translations for that. So yeah, it does speak about following that calling, that that feeling that something perhaps is missing.
Yeah, even when it's something happier or something inspiring, even when it's something that you feel the lack of. For me, it's the same calling. It's trying to find your path, the reason for why you are here.
Yeah.
That it's always a reason based in love and enjoy. That happens that how we don't understand that. We lose ourselves, and sometimes we can feel it stressful or negatively.
Well, it's a beautiful book. I mean, obviously based on the paintings that you have done as well, and that kind of ties into the kinds of books that you continue to write and to illustrate. Because since I have known you, you love comics. I mean, this is a whole world that I knew absolutely nothing about until I met you. The world of fantasy, the world of the superheroes, the world of graphic novels, and you write your own stories, you illustrate your own stories. So what is it about graphic novels in general that you like?
Well, I guess I love visual arts, and I love drawing. I love drawing, even more than writing. I love drawing. Then it's a great combination. It's to mix two arts that are splendid in their own, like this visual arts and the literature, and to bring something great, something amazing. That is not only a combination, it's even more, because the visual arts, when you're using in comics, is like they call it sequential art. It's through a line of images to bring a message. Sometimes you don't need even words. Only the images in sequence bring the message. But when you combine with a good writing, and there is a story, both can compensate, can help each other to complement each other to bring something even greater that they could do alone by themselves. For that reason, I love it. Yeah.
And so, are there certain kinds of graphic novels that you see are not being written that you feel that you want to write about? Because I'll tell you, the reason they don't resonate with me is because all I see is violence. I see violence, I see, a lot of gore. It's just not something that appeals to me personally as a reader. So is that what attracts you to it, or is there something else that you wish to get from it?
I never liked horror stories, movies, or no. I like more. It's expression. It's a way to express feelings or stories. But I feel more attracted for inspiring books and inspiring comics, and that is that I miss a little. I would like to see more stories that are inspiring, motivational, that show the beauty that there is in the world, that help. Instead of to judge somebody that look bad, try to understand the character and why he's doing what he's doing, and that kind of insights that can enrich you personally too, not only entertain, but can enrich you in a positive way personally. Yeah.
Yeah, because that's something that I know that you've already written a couple of graphic novels. You're working on another graphic...
comics.
Shorter comics.
Short stories of 5-6 pages. I had at least 9 or 10 of that. I'm going to publish a book with them very soon too.
Yeah, and you're working on another graphic novel.
Exactly, because I am writing my memoir, a part of the walk that we did to Jerusalem that we didn't tell in the story, because you are the character, the person that is telling the story, the narrator. And there's a part important that we separate that I didn't tell at that time, and I'm writing that like a novel, and I'm writing to my memoirs about how I found spirituality and the vision that I found today. Spirituality, or what you want to say, the answers to who we are and why we are here, no? In a more general way. Yeah. And that novels, I am writing them with the intention to publish like a novel, but to publish to like a graphic novel in the future. That will need more time. But I want them to become in the both ways, because I think I will reach two different kind of public. And for another part, I love both ways. Then, if I had time, as I can, I will do it for sure.
Well, you're someone who I know, and you mentioned this earlier, trusts their intuition to create, whether it's, whether you're working on a literary work or something visual. Now, what does intuition mean to you? Define that for me.
Well, it's I believe, and many people believe, religions, philosophy, spirituality, believe that we are much more than our surface, our physical surface. Whatever you want to call it, that God or the soul, or there is something greater than us. There is a greater wisdom that we can connect with and we can access to. And I think intuition is the door through we can connect with that wisdom and with that knowledge. Yeah, I will define that in that way. But it's a part that is in us and is all around us and all we can access to, because it's in every one of us.
Well, how do you know you're accessing your intuition and that greater part that you're speaking about, and not your imagination? Or is there even a difference?
That is a great question, because it's something that you learn with the process of growing and practicing. Field you notice. Coincidence, synchronicities, you had dreams that bring maybe a message, or there are many ways in the intuition work. That is another thing, Then, but little by little, when you go paying attention and taking this more seriously, you can learn how is the language, how the language works. And then you can be an expert with time in that. That doesn't mean that always you are going to have the answer, to have the clear answer of what that means. But you recognize it, feels the language that happens. For example, when I receive something with intuition, for me, I don't know, it's for everybody works the same way, look like a time stop.
Okay.
I feel like the pause, and like something, I can see that something is happening. There is something deeper in the situation that is in front of me, or in this that I am seeing. And I can I can sense that there is a message there. The message maybe I don't discover right away, but as I open myself to it with time, I pause usually in hours or 5 minutes later, or sometimes in the same moment, I can see the message. And it's a message that is wise. It's a message that for my only logic, would have been very difficult to know. Even ideas that I never had considered before. Then that made me think, obviously, that there is a wiser intelligence that is connecting with me. Maybe it's my own, that is in my subconscious. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't want to say that I know exactly how it is, but that is something for sure.
Yeah, I mean, writing from that place or connecting from that place to draw or to create is very powerful, because I feel that too when I'm writing. There are moments when I'm writing when I read it afterwards and I go, this is not me. Where did this come from? These are not my thoughts and my words.
Or my illustrations. Yes. You have seen something. Yes. I love to do that. Have a white paper in front of me.
Yes.
I don't know, whatever need to can. And I apply that with people or with situations. What is happening really in this situation that is in my life, on the life of this person? And then I allow that wherever the images start to come, I don't know what I am doing, but at the end, all makes sense.
Yes.
It's like the hieroglyphic. Yeah. That had a symbol, that are archetypes, that, and all together obviously show a message that is usually very clear to understand.
Yeah, because in the kind of the writing or illustrating that you do, there is a lot of archetypal type of references. Yeah. You see something and you go, well, it has more meaning than just like a dog. A dog that appears is not just simply a dog, and you explain it.
Depending on the situation and the story, or it's maybe a dog can signify much more than only a dog.
Right.
You know? And maybe can be different. The meaning in this situation, that the meaning that can have in another story, or in another drawing, or in another.
Very briefly, can you tell me one thing that writers or creators can do to develop that intuition, that connection to something that allows them to pour through something even more powerful than their own mind?
Well, the first step is, I will say, to believe, not only believe, it's not to believe, it's to open yourself that is possible, and to pay attention. You know, if you pay attention, you quiet your mind, I will recommend to meditate or to give walks, to try to don't distract yourself, because we are distracted from so many things. Where you can be focused a little and center, it's easy that you can realize and you can see that wings, I would like to say, like wings of that greater mind that is with us all the time.
Yeah. Well, we're down to about a minute and a half to the end of the show.
Wow, that's going very fast.
It does go quickly. I want to know, what, you've already created quite a body of work, from the memoirs and from illustrations and children's books and so on. What legacy, if you want to call it that, do you want to leave with people who read your book, so that when they are reading it, they're going, or they're saying what?
Well, it's not, I would like to be recognized, but it's not about the legacy that I leave. For me, the more important is first to do what I feel that is what I need to do, to honor my truth, and to bring that in with my artwork, because I love to do that with my artwork, my writing. But the more important is I can pass that vision that inspired me, that had made me another person, to others, for that they can consider, they can see, there is another way to see life. This connected me. I can say that it's a much more fulfilling way to see life. It's a much more happy way to see life. Yeah. And I will let the people can discover that, because I think it's there for everybody. Yeah.
Well, that's a beautiful way to say it. And that's a beautiful gift to leave with all the people who are watching us today. So thank you. Thank you for coming on the show. Thank you for sharing your wisdom. And thank you all for tuning in to this episode of The Author's Journey. And we'll see you on the next one. Bye for now.